Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing yet another movie review, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a horror film from the United States, English language, released in the year 2018, directed by Mitzi Perrone, and this film is called Braid. So Braid is about two childhood friends who have grown up now to be very troubled teens, and they are now drug dealers for a drug boss. So the drug boss is supplying them with the drugs that they have to sell, but unfortunately one day their drug den is raided and they lose all their drugs. And so they have to pay back the drug boss within 48 hours, but they don't know how they're going to do it. So they're on the run, and one of the friends comes up with an idea of visiting their childhood friend who had grown up to be a severely mentally ill individual. So she lives in an estate by herself that she's inherited, and she has a lot of money inside her safe, but it's not going to be so easy just to turn up and take the money. They're going to actually have to play by this mentally ill woman's rules. And the rules is that she's created an imaginary world and that they have to play along. So in order to do this, they're going to have to go through the ordeal of actually getting into a seemingly harmless world, but when they realize it's dangerous, they may never come back out. So whether or not that's the case is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Braid. I come into this movie with a lot of excitement but limited expectations, and the reason is because it's an independent horror film. Now, when I saw the trailer, I thought this looks very interesting, and the benefit of an independent horror film is that it doesn't have a mega budget to hide behind, so more emphasis is on the story. So with a lot of mega budget movies, you can disguise a really bad story with a lot of special effects, and a lot of people will be fooled into thinking that that specific movie was very good. Whereas a low budget horror film, more emphasis is on the actual story because they can't hide behind things, because if they try it, it's going to look really bad. So I thought Braid is definitely a movie that fits into that category. Was it going to be a cheap looking film, or was it going to be a movie that was actually quite creative? And thankfully, after watching Braid, I will say that this is an incredibly creative film. It's a very nightmare drug-fueled experience that was a lot better than I was anticipating, and that's something that I can really appreciate because Mitzi Perrone has actually established herself as a director of a forgotten art, and that forgotten art is interpretation. Basically, the confidence in the fact that the viewer has a lot of imagination themselves and a lot of brains. And so the intelligence of the viewer is definitely a strong force in this film, because what you get from the experience may not be what the next person got from the experience, and there's no specific wrong and right answers. So you can discuss what you actually got from the experience, and so it makes it a very personable experience at the same time. And not a lot of directors have a lot of confidence, but Mitzi Perrone demonstrates a lot of confidence, not only in the competency of the production, but the overall story and how nightmarish this whole film felt. I felt very vulnerable because all the control is stripped away from you, and you're just free falling in this spiral that the director manages to create. The director always has control, but you don't have control as a viewer. The very disorientating, nightmarish feeling that you get just makes you feel as though you're doubting yourself. You don't know what you can trust. And if you can't trust yourself, then ultimately you're just going along, and it's that free falling feeling feels like that really bad dream that when you wake up from, you're just really glad it was only a dream. But in this film, you're never quite sure when you're going to wake up or if you're going to wake up. And so the nightmarish feeling felt very, very bizarre. It was a very far out caricature insane film. So if that's your kind of thing, I would highly recommend it. The environment actually reminded me of a film called Hellions that I thought was a Halloween film that was very good, but very nightmarish and just really vibrant in the intensity to the caricature nature. But this movie is just all about imagination. And imagination is lacking in a lot of horror films these days, but Mitzi Perrone has created a movie that is full of confidence, and that confidence is molding her own world in a way that I actually felt genuinely horrifying. It doesn't rely on violence. There is some violence in the film, but it's more a case of, as I said, that self-doubt that rarely comes as a viewer, because a lot of directors want you to have control. But when you have control, you have that sense, okay, I'm not as scared, I'm not as vulnerable. It's vulnerable because you're never quite sure where to go. Where is that safety net? And Mitzi Perrone has taken it away. And so that demonstrates the fact that she can tell a story in a very vivid way and have a lot of fun at the same time. I thought this is incredibly entertaining. I thought the actresses who are playing the characters are very minimal characters, so it's a minimalistic horror film, but I thought they handled themselves very, very well. It required very exaggerated performances, and those exaggerated performances stayed true to the world that the movie was set. So it's all about imagination. When you start doubting that fine line between reality and fantasy, this is what creates that sense of just pure terror. So right at the end of the film, there is a scene that just completely throws a cat amongst the pigeons. I thought, all right, well, when the movie ended, this is the grounding in realism. Okay, this is what's happened. But then that very final final scene, I thought, all right, well, I didn't have control after all. So the director is giving you this false sense of security that you kind of get the idea of where it's going, but then pulls the rug from under you right at the very end. And it makes you want to go back and watch it again just to see if the movie comes to you in a different way. And so this is a forgotten art, and Mitzi Perrone demonstrates that not all horror directors have gone down the lazy generic route. So if it sounds like your kind of thing, this is low budget horror filmmaking at its most competent. It is incredibly strange, very nightmarish feeling that the movie invokes from the viewer. So if it sounds like your kind of thing, go out there and see it. I'm going to give Braid 3.5 stars. All right, guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.